Good afternoon and welcome back to the West Ham Network. I apologise. We had technical difficulties. We're literally, I swear to God, we're about to go live and my camera decided to pack in. The camera that I use normally has decided to just go and it's gone to pot. And now I'm on the laptop computer camera and it's thrown me. It's completely thrown me off guard. So apologies for running a little bit late, but that's just what we sometimes have to do. And got to deal with it. So hopefully you've enjoyed the DJ Russie B's daily that he did earlier on, which was about the free 11, the world's free 11, what players potentially are available. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. It was earlier on at 12:30 today. He done a fantastic interview with the women's female rugby champion. A great video. Go and check that out as well. That was with Poppy Cleo, her My Hammers 11. Go and check that out later on. Of course, we've had the West Ham Weekly from Stell, where he's been talking nonsense about Declan Rice going to Real Madrid. Russ did a fantastic video with Bill Gardner, and he done a My Hammers 11 last night. Go and check that out. That will be on the channel. We've got videos coming out left, right, and centre. We'll have the press conference today. Hopefully, I can get my camera working properly. And tonight we'll have the preview, where we'll have some a couple of guests coming on the show tonight as well. So make sure you do tune in for that. But we do have someone joining us for the press conference today. Someone is joining us for the press conference today, so we'll bring him on. You've seen him already. It's DJ Russie B. DJ Russie B, how you doing, my man?
I'm all right, man. How are you? Technical difficulties. It's just that the curse of Stell just follows us around, doesn't it?
There it is. There. Look at the state of that. It's just gone to pot. I don't know what happened. Working perfect. Then it was the curse of Stell that went on through to the curse of Russ. Russ came on and bang, the curse of everything that goes wrong with the technical abilities. Anybody, you well?
Yeah, not bad, man. Not bad. Windy, windswept as everyone else is.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the game. Looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Big game tomorrow, yeah.
If Newcastle can get here.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I think a lot of people were a lot of people have been told not to leave house today, not leave home today. I've seen videos. I mean, it's all over the country. I'm looking at the window right now, and we've got the storm up here. Doesn't matter what part of the country you are from. The storm is literally everywhere. But I mean, I think surely they're a bit more advanced and a bit more prepared for these circumstances. Surely, but then again, with the COVID situation, when people were travelling to Burnley and then 2 hours before kickoff, they cancelled the game, didn't they? You don't see the game getting cancelled, do you, Russ?
No, I don't think so. I think that the idea was they were planning to go to I think I was reading Eddie Howe's pre-match, and he was saying that basically they were going to fly, but it's not flying now, so they're going to have to get a coach. So okay. Fair enough. If they get a coach, lovely. But that's great for us, really, because it means they're stuck on a coach for 6 hours, 7 hours. I don't know how long it is. I'm trying to think how long it would be to Newcastle on a coach. Fair way, isn't it?
Yeah, fair bit away, isn't it? But maybe not as far away as what it would be for me. Is that less crackly now, Russ?
still a bit crackly, I'll be honest, mate.
God, what has happened? What has happened? The storm's had a negative impact on me for everything to do with the channel today. But anyway, apologies if it's that bad. I'll go into this. I mean, I'm in the current process of purchasing new equipment. I was online, I had it all saved, and now I've had to switch computers. And honestly, Russ, how terrible could this get? How terrible could this get?
But my mic sounds a bit better, so you know.
I'm not going to lie to you, mate. It does. It's gone back to normal. So you're all sorted, and you've passed all the pain on to me. Should we get into the Moyes press conference and let everyone know what he said?
Let's do it, man.
Right. First and foremost, he was speaking about the storm, and he was asked the question, was there any disruption regarding that? And he said a little bit of disruption because it's pretty bad, but overall, not too much. We've managed to miss the worst of it, hopefully, so it's not the best situation. He then goes on, and the first question, of course, as expected, is about Kurt Zouma. He says, I think people are, before I even move on to what he says, I think people are obviously looking for a story extra than what has been said already, but Moyes just clearly shuts them down. And he says, we have been clear and concise. There is an investigation going on at the moment, but I'm not an expert on that. I do not think we have been misleading at all. He's better, but it's taken him a couple of days to get over it. He had quite a bad illness. He's trained the last couple of days, so I'm hoping that he'll be available. We want him to concentrate on his training. We're hoping that we can keep him at those levels of performances. Hopefully he can focus on his football, and we'll give him as much support as we can before we get him ready back to his best. What do you think from that then, Russ?
Well, I mean, he's trying to be as diplomatic as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, it does seem that it was, if it was a stomach bug, it was a stomach bug, and we all get the shit sometimes, don't we? So we'll get the 2 bob bits. So it's taken him a couple of days to get over it. But his training is available, and he'll be back in the starting lineup on Saturday. No problem at all.
Yeah, I've had to take my microphone out because people are saying it's a bit robotic. But can you hear me now? And it might not be as crystal clear as having a microphone in, but it will just do the job for now. So apologies. I don't know what's gone wrong today. Everything's just gone wrong today. I don't doubt it for a second, mate. I think Zouma will be back in the team. But fair play to Diop for stepping in and stepping up to the plate, because he really did step up to the plate when everyone doubted him heavily, didn't he? Definitely.
And I think, we all like shitting ourselves a little bit about, playing those two again, D&D. And he played really well, and probably strongest game for us for a long time. And I mean, he'll be dropped for Zouma. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen because you got big Chris Woods up front as well, and I think that's sort of an old school forward against an old school defender in terms of Dawson. So that'd be a good battle. But I think he's we've been waiting for him to go to beast mode for a long time. That beast mode which Mourinho said was when he was at Man United, and how he was a beast and. And he seems to be back to not back to himself, but it was a much more assured performance from Diop, which is okay, which is great, So I think you want at least 3 centre backs, and you can interchange the 3 of them. We haven't had that for a while. Usually one's injured and 2 have had not very good form, but it's nice having all 3 together, playing some sort of at a decent level.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that I think with the circumstances, because Moyes has decided to play Zouma and keep Zouma in and around the team, hopefully things are getting dealt with off the field that won't have an impact on the field. And let's hope that doesn't kind of continue and have a negative impact on the team. Because at the end of the day, if there are rules and regulations and the club followed those rules and regulations, then there shouldn't be anything to go against. With regards to what they're doing, and if the investigation is taking place outside the club, then let that investigation take place, and nothing states that he has to by law stop playing football because of what's happened. So he'll be back in, and he'll probably be back in the squad and probably be starting next time round. Let's move on to what Moyes said on the squad. He said the atmosphere has always been good here. We have a really good team spirit, a group of lads who are resilient. They showed that in the performance last week and even against Kidderminster. We want to improve our performances, but we have a really good spirit among the squad, and we see that every single week, don't we, Russ? And even see that in training, and I don't think it's been put out there for the sake of the media. I think you can see this. We've seen this built up over the last 18 months to 2 years now. We're nearly on the 2-year kind of stepping stone of when we started to progress, but you can really see that team unit. And when you listen to the likes of Declan Rice's interview with Gary Neville, Mark Noble's interview with Rio Ferdinand, you know, they consistently talk about team spirit and what it is, the togetherness in the squad.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he is. I mean, as you know, obviously from even sort of during the lockdown, I saw firsthand what a team spirit they had, because they did do their little walk around the pitch, an hour and a half before kickoff, because obviously there was no fans there, and they're all jostling each other, and you get that sense, you see them in there's a reason why there's more training video montages released by the club and pictures and things like that, because everyone's in a happy place, it seems, or the majority of people are in a happy place in terms of the squad. So for me, I think it's, we know we're, and the performances on the pitch are showing as well. The fact is, we never seem to die. We never seem to roll, even with the Kidderminster game and various other games. We're grinding out these results. There's a reason why not getting that ad. There's a reason why I think we're top of the league in terms of goals scored in the last quarter of a game. Usually because we need that goal to get a draw or to get a win. But regardless of that, they keep pushing to the end. And so, it's that the personality off the field is now is you see that in the team. And, as I said, like yesterday when we had Bill on, he was saying that, he doesn't, the team spirit seems fantastic, and various others, and Poppy said the same thing. And, so we all see it. And it's nice that we're all talking about it in a positive light, because usually it's usually we talk about team spirit, it's usually Ronaldo versus Maguire at Man United at the moment, so it's nice that we're on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, absolutely. He goes on and talks about team news, and he says we've got 1 or 2 doubts and 1 or 2 question marks over some players who've picked up some injuries. I wouldn't give that away, but like every other club, we've got 1 or 2 injuries at the moment. Now, we've learned through time that David Moyes does not like to give anything away. And if he does give anything away, it's usually smoke and mirrors, really, isn't it? He sends people one way, and then the next minute, a player that you expect not to play will play, etc. I think we do know players like Dawson have been probably playing through the pain barrier for quite some time, but they seem to be able to just turn up and do a job. Could you see this game being a game that, maybe that's him referencing someone like Dawson not being available for the game?
Possibly. I mean, he's always very close to his chest in terms of, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world if, at the end of the day, if Diop did play instead of Dawson, because then Diop will play left side of the back two, and then, Zuma would play his more natural right-sided position, rather than with Dawson and him together. He tends to play on the left, and I don't think he seems as comfortable on the ball when he's playing on the left side of the pairing of the centre-backs. He's always very, very close to his chest. Obviously, everyone knows. So there's sort of 2 parts of a press conference. You have the stuff which gets released, which Tom releases or the club release, and then you have sort of the embargoed stuff where they ask about, but obviously they don't necessarily say, "Oh yeah, Bob's out. He's got COVID." That sort of goes afterwards. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mickey doesn't play. I don't know. I've just got a feeling. I haven't seen a lot of him on the training ground pictures or things like that. So by the way he says it, for me there must be not a big one, but I could see someone like Antonio maybe he's played a lot of games recently, and he hasn't had any injuries and stuff like that. But the same's true of Newcastle. We know that Trippier's out. We know that Manquello's out as well. There was people talking about Sir Maximan was hobbling, and and again Eddie Howe did the same thing. So it's like they just play the game. We'll see who turns up, innit?
Well, it's funny you saying that, because as we're speaking, the club have released a video from training today. So
brilliant.
We can see Antonio in training. We can see Rice in training. We can see Souček in training. We can see Fornals, Creswell, Noble, all in training. Lanzini, they do a particular montage on Lanzini, who does a little bit of ladder work himself. And I can see Vlasic in training. So there's, I'll be intrigued to see who it is. Who I can't see is anyone in defence. I've not seen Dawson. I've not seen Diop or anyone like that. So it'll be interesting to know who is affected as such. I mean, I've seen Souček. I've not seen Sofal. either. So I wonder if it could be either one of the players I've just mentioned there in defence. But, we'll see. He's playing his cards close to his chest, isn't he? So he goes on and talks about Antonio, though. He actually says, I want him to get on the goal scoring sheet regularly. We're fourth in the Premier League as goals scored goes. Generally, any football manager would probably want the goals to be shared around because it shows you can score from different areas. I want to get Mitch back to the levels because he's really important. We're just beginning to see little bits which are giving us encouragement. He's getting back, and I don't think it will be too long before he's back in the score sheet. Do you agree with what Moyes is saying there? Because I think a lot of people are, well, it depends on what you look at and who you listen to, but the social media fan base are massively saying that Antonio deserves to be dropped. I see, and when you listen to a lot of the pundits do say that the work that he does for the team that allows players like Jared Bowen to get further forward it's phenomenal. However, what I do see from a personal point of view is a player that's maybe trying to do something that he shouldn't be trying to do, that he's not really designed to do. I think he should really kind of, go back to holding up play and allowing these players to come in. But equally, as Moyes is saying here, the goals are spread throughout the team, and we are the fourth most goal scorers in the Premier League. So what else can we ask for? Like, are we going to get a striker that's just going to come up front and take away those goals and
That's a good point. I mean, you're right. It's like if we did go and get the elusive 20-goal a season striker, then at the end of the day, it could be that Bowen doesn't get as many goals as he usually does, because I think Antonio he's not a striker. He's in the role he plays is as a forward. He's not a striker as such. And I said, he must have a number of assists this season already to his name as well, because the amount of times he's taken the hit, so to speak, and then to give it a rugby analogy, he's taken the hit and popped it off to the winger to cut inside to score the goal, and that's to score the try. But it's the same thing with Bowen. The amount of times where the ball's come through and Antonio's taken sort of the hit, he's held the ball up and laid it off to Bowen to run in. He does. I've said this before, but I think he does look tired. But I just think it's naturally the way he hangs himself and body. He's such a big lad that he hangs like he walks on the pitch and looks tired, but he's not. Same as Souček. Souček looks tired, but then he'll run 15k throughout the game. Someone on the lunchtime show was saying, hopefully the old, with this wind, his cardboard cutout of himself doesn't fly off in London Stadium. We haven't seen, we saw that once, and it seems that it's a shame where he's our Premier League top goal scorer of all time and he's not really in the goals. But as you said, they get spread around. Again, I might do, if I'm bored, one day, I might have a look at that. In terms of different strikers, but different goal scorers per club, we must be up there because we do distribute them around quite a bit, those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. He moves on and he talks about Newcastle, and he says, in particular, about Eddie Howe, he says, I think first and foremost, it's been a really difficult job to stabilise a club the size of Newcastle with all the changes going on. Eddie's a really good steady hand and has shown he can build a football club. He's got a really good reputation among the manager's circle. He's got a really big club in Newcastle with big expectations. Results recently have been good. They've brought in some new signings and have helped them as well. Newcastle at any time are a really tough task and will need to be at our best to get a result. He then goes on and talks about Kieran Trippier, who of course has picked up an injury with his metatarsal. He's been a really good fullback, and the set pieces and deliveries are really good. He's helped to give Newcastle a bit of momentum, and they'll be hoping that they can keep that going. Our job is to get our form going again. And he talks about Newcastle. He says, I think they've become a much more balanced team. They've got a formation at the moment which isn't helping them. Their players are playing in positions that suit them, and that's given them a good chance. Confidence and momentum is a big thing in football as well. They'll be saying they've got a chance to get away from trouble, which will give them the momentum to continue. Now, listen, at the end of the day, everyone knows that they've been purchased and paid, and they're the richest club in the world, etc. But that will not automatically get them out of this trouble. They are on a good run of games, and Kieran Trippier has been really integral for them in the last few games since he signed, actually. What a big miss. I know we're going to do the preview later on, but it is going to be a big miss for them, and it's still not going to be an easy task for them to get out of the position they're in, is it?
No, huge. It's a huge miss for them. It's a huge miss. As you said, he's fitted in the side very well, and it's not just he's bombing forward, but obviously he scored a good free kick the other day in terms of his free kicks and his goal contribution. It'd be massive for them because they in the same way that obviously when Cress was out, we missed that sort of. I know he's on the different wing, different side, but we missed that sort of delivery, we missed that outlet, and he will be a massive loss. And Manquella as well. In essence, that's both sides really, so it'd be massive for them, and it's a shame because I like to see English players do well, obviously not against us, but it's all because it's all good for England, if in the future if he's playing well, and that gives more competition for places, so the guys have to up their game in the international duty and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the part where he talks about winning but not playing well. It's the second week in a row that we've actually discussed this. He says, I think our attacking paid off more earlier in the season. The things we did at the time worked a lot easier. We've not found it quite as easy at the moment, but we'll score goals. It just hasn't felt that way to me. 2 or 3 individual players just haven't quite played at the levels. But defensively, I was disappointed we conceded 2 goals at Leicester. Conceding no goals would have given us a good chance of winning. There's a Michael Owen statement and a half there. So we have to try and get us stronger defensively. I'm really pleased with the goals we're scoring, and I think we can find some top form in the run-in. I'll put us in really good stead for where we want to finish the season. Now, listen, at the end of the day, there's an element of that I totally agree with because, me and you done the Kidderminster match day live, and it was the first game back after the break. And we never played well, but we got the result. Now, it depends on how you want to look at it, but the players will know for a fact that they didn't play to the levels that they've been used to playing, and they would have shrugged off that bad performance, but that bad performance continued into the Watford game, and it wasn't a great day at the office. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't a great day at the office, but we shrugged that performance off and got a win. Then we moved into the Leicester game. Now, I know Leicester aren't and haven't been playing well, but they are still Leicester City, who have been there or thereabouts for the last, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Since they've come up to the Premier League and then went on to win the Premier League. So going to the King Power Stadium, even though West Ham have got a good record against Leicester City, is still not an easy game to turn up and go against. Now, I agree with the sentiment. It's a very blatant statement. Don't concede goals, and we scored 2. We're going to win the game. But we did, and there was errors there. But for some parts of the game, there was decent performances. And in actual fact, individual players that I said on the review that we needed to play better, that needed to give us a performance, actually came out of the woodwork and gave us a performance. 3 players in particular, Diop, Benrahma and Vlasic, albeit 2 of them came on as a sub, but their sub appearances were good. And they gave us that boost and that progression to go forward and try and get that equaliser. So as much as we're not playing well, when you're not playing well and getting results, there's a positive to take from that. And what we just now need to do is try and connect that playing well with getting a result. And we could find ourselves going back into a run of form, which is what we absolutely desperately need, to keep ourselves in contention for the top 4.
Yeah, but I mean, it's about getting the results, isn't it? Now, so it's not even necessarily about the performance. I know what you mean. It generate, but we're, as I said, it's. I totally agree. We need a performance to get us back on track. I mean, I've been seeing some stuff that people be saying online and stuff that this could be this game could be the season definer, so to speak, because the fact is we've got this game and then we've got we've got this and another home game, and then we start playing some tougher games away from home, and for me it's. I think at the beginning of the season it was all about the performance, but now I just want the points now. I don't give a shit now. It's really bad, but it is the case now. I think now we've shown that we can play, and for us we're just a confidence team. That's what it is. These guys haven't just overnight become bad players or hasn't clicked. It's just like when the confidence is up, you see Antonio throwing people around. You'll see Souček being more of his dominant self. I mean, even the last game, the Leicester City game, wasn't as many Declan Rice commanding runs into the box like we've had throughout this season so far. You'll see see Cresswell doing the overlaps. And I think it's all about confidence with this team, and the togetherness is still there. We know they're still plug away. The work ethic is always there. You can never say, "Oh, we don't." It's 11 don't try, or the 11 play, because you know they're going to be putting 100%. It's just it's like the A for effort, but now we're looking at the score for the aptitude of it now. So in terms of getting that performance out of us, and I think it could be tomorrow. At the end of the day, Newcastle are going to be tired as well because they travelled and it's an early start. No team ever really plays well at these early kickoffs, really, as well. It's almost like they need a couple of extra hours in bed. It's all does their brain in a little bit. It does my brain in a little bit. I know that for sure. But yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident the game tomorrow. Performance in front of the 60,000 West Ham fans tomorrow would set us nicely coming up to next weekend as well when we're at home again.
100%, mate, 100%. Moyes goes on and talks about the challenges ahead. He said 4 points off Leicester would generally be seen as a pretty good return. Personally, my expectations have grown from what I want from the players. I think the manager's job is to try and grow expectations, and I think we're doing that here. We've got a lot of big games to come in for coming weeks and months, and he's right what he says there about 4 points off Leicester is a good return. However, then you go back to some of the results we didn't get, and it's like last season in particular. No, not getting a result against Newcastle last year is, in theory, what could have cost us for the Champions League spots. Yeah. So it is about the progression. And like you said, Russ, it is about when you don't perform, getting points on the board is the key element. Now we're into this decisive part of the season, and getting points on that board is the key element, and momentum and consistency, because we're about to have the Europa League draw moving into the next round, the last 16 of Europa League, and then we've got the FA Cup coming along. It's, to be in and thereabouts. And here's an interesting one as well. He goes on and talks about scoring goals at home. He said it's a really simple equation. We look as if we can score. We've had some games where we've maybe not been quite as sharp or ruthless, but us tightening up defensively will be really important. I still feel the fluidity in the early part of the season. We're still to get back in midfield in our front line. We need our defenders to make sure we keep us in a position where we can. I mean, he's really ramming home here now about the defence, but we have been ramming home about the defence for such a long time. So even though we brought in Zuma, it's never, ever really resolved our defensive issues because we lack strength in that area. It's good that we've got Diop who's stepping in and doing a job, sometimes, and has recently not been on form. And obviously we've lost Ogbonna. But even when Ogbonna comes back, we for upwards of nearly 6 years for us, we've struggled with conceding goals. And Moyes has consistently said it's the area where I need to nullify and shut up shop, because you think back to the Arsenal game last season where we were winning 3-0. Was it 3-0 at half-time? We drew the game 3 each. And just the amount of goals that we concede, if we can really work on that, then I don't think he's overly concerned about scoring the goals, because I think we've scored in every single home game we've played this season. And long may that continue into tomorrow's game as well. Definitely.
And I think, when you look at that, as you said, we've always been a bit of a soft touch defensively, and obviously when Moyes came in for the first, that's the second time. So when he came in properly, that was the first thing we did. We started to become a really, really tight defence. We didn't give away. We had a lot of clean sheets. We might nick a game 1-0, 2-0. Or we turn up and we're in 3 or 4-0. There was a lot of clean sheets, and that's what got us into a good position last season. And then obviously the goals started creeping in the other sides, and that already puts you back up. If you're 2-0 down, you've got to score 2 just to get a point. But we always looked like we was going to score, and that was about halfway through, about 3/4 way through last season, and that's kept going. We haven't tightened the defence up like we were at the first half of the season last year, and it's frustrating. It is really frustrating because you're already on a downer, really. And how many times have we spoken about it in a watch along? We say, it takes a goal for us to concede a goal to wake up. And it has seemed that way, unfortunately. But I would like to see, hopefully, unfortunately, when the Zuma and Ogbonna partnership maybe didn't have enough time to gel. Obviously, because then Ogbonna gets injured, and then Zuma's always with another. Then Zuma gets injured, and so again, it's that back four. We haven't had a solid back four for most of this season. and that makes a huge difference. And I think that was the difference between last season, because we had that sort of solidity there. So it was a lot more. You knew what each other was doing, and I think that's been a real issue with us, particularly in the last 18 months, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to remember, if you are watching, we will talk in depth about Newcastle, in depth about West Ham when we come on the preview at 9 o'clock. So make sure you do tune in with us then. We'll have an away fan on, and we'll go in a little bit more depth about what Newcastle can offer. There's players in their team, and I'm not really worried about, as such, their new players in terms of like Trippier. Well, I was more worried about him, but he's obviously missing. But it's players like Saint-Maximin, because we all know what he's very, very capable of doing. And depends, and I've seen comments in the chat there saying about players should come in for someone else, but we'll talk about that when we come on to the preview. Last but not least, though, David Moyes does talk about the man of the moment, the player who is in form at West Ham, and that's Jared Bowen. He said he's certainly stepped up at times we've needed him, and what we want from him now is that consistency. He's a bit more understanding of the all-round situation, and his finishing's become really good recently. I mean, Russ, we are in the midst of another fantastic player on our hands. It's great to have him at West Ham. His form's just been phenomenal. He looks like a real threat. A lot of people are calling for him to play up top. He completely went on record as saying that he does not want to. His favoured position is out on the right and likes cutting in from specific positions, which kind of makes you think then at that point, he's going to stick with the man up top, Antonio, who we all think probably needs a little bit of a rest. But what do you think of Bowen as such? And
I mean, it's always a way when people say, I like to play this position, doesn't mean they're going to be playing that position. As I said, we know that David Moyes, he's our backup striker. He's our backup forward. He said he's gone on, he's gone on film, he's gone on camera several times to say that. There's not many good, better backup options than Jared Bowen. Of course, he likes to cut inside because he has a better chance of scoring maybe than trying to hold the ball up. He's on fire at the moment. You look at his stats, as I said, he's now, in terms of, I think obviously it was Grealish's record, isn't there, in the Premier League, and I think he's done the goals. He's got to get one or something more assists, and he's done that with a third of the season still to go. He's, just his hold up play is better. He just seems, again, a confidence player, and people are worried about in the summer. As long as he's still with Danny, Mr. Dyer ain't going to let him go anywhere, innit? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and again, it's like, if he went to another club, he would be, he's similar to the whole Declan Rice thing. He's the main man. He's the guy who's our main attacking threat, and he's the man who people are, in the same way that we're worried about Saint-Maximin, Newcastle probably shit themselves about Bowen, because he's on fire, and particularly with with their fullbacks out, it's the same issue that we've got with Saint-Maximin, I think.
Yeah, I think when it comes to players like Jared Bowen, again, it kind of, if you listen to Declan Rice and Mark Noble's interviews that they've done recently with the mainstream media, Sky Sports and Rio Ferdinand's channel, etc., what you get from players, like if you listen to the Mark Noble one, they ask him like, were you ever close to leaving the club at any point? And he said, yeah, during one of the relegation seasons, the temptation was there. However, him and his family sat down and they decided that, what would it be like if I just became, a one club man, the club that I supported, the club that I love. He said the grass isn't always greener. It could have been greener, but I also made the option that the grass wasn't greener, so I decided to stay at the club. Yep. And I've got some of the best memories. And then you've got Declan Rice, who's talking about, I want to win it all. And that's fine, and that's great. And you've got two players at different parts of their career, different stages of their career, one a lot younger, one's about to retire. And you think to yourself, you can't blame a player for looking elsewhere if they are interested in winning things. Yeah. However, if they can believe what is being built, if they're being told the right stuff, and if we back it up by going into the market and strengthening the squad in the summer, then why, if you're Jared Bowen and Declan Rice, and West Ham say, for talking sake, do finish in the top 4, top 5, do a nice cup run, why at that stage would they want to be looking to leave? And Jared Bowen is a prime example of someone that he's in the prime of his career. He's really, really pushing forward in his career, and it would be fantastic for him to stick around for another couple of years to see what West Ham can build around the likes of him and Declan Rice, and add to that. Could you imagine adding like the left-hand side version of Jared Bowen, who would do something similar?
Maximin.
Yeah, exactly. Adding that amount of goals, and then if Declan Rice keeps progressing the way he does, he adds that amount of goals. and then we bring in someone like Jesse Lingard, who adds the amount of goals that he adds, and then you're not so worried about a number 9 so much, because we've got players in the team who scoring goals all around. So
it's a system, isn't it? It's a system, isn't it? And it's like it's fitting the right players into the right system. Now, you know, a Tony Cottee would not work in this team. Because it would mean you would need someone to hold the ball up for him, then it would go 2 up front. You know, so a fox in the box striker, although we necessarily would love a fox in the box striker, the way Moyes sets his team up, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. He'd end up having to play the right wing and cut inside, which is not the job of that person. For me, I totally agree, and it's about progression. And Declan Rice is only 23. And that's what surprised me yesterday. No spoilers, but if anyone goes and hasn't seen the Bill Gardner interview, he puts Declan Rice in his all-time Hammers 11, and he's been a fan for the late 50s, which surprised me a bit. But then I look back at his stats, and he's played over 150 games for us, and so he is in that realm now, and he's only 23.
But you know, the point, I watched a bit of the interview. I couldn't watch it when you put it on live, but I watched it back a little bit, and I got to the point where he was talking about Declan Rice, and the point he made about Declan Rice is so valid. I mean, you're talking about a player here, unquestionably our best consistent spell that maybe most fans can actually remember, who are still alive watching us. You know, me and you unfortunately weren't here when we won the cups. However, even in my dad's time, you know, he still says that consistently over I said like nearly 2 years, he's not saw West Ham perform that consistent in 2 solid years. And having a player who can lead the line, this is why we're talking about the likes of Declan Rice, who could go on to become who's got the potential here. And I'm not making a big bold statement with this, but if West Ham can win something and keep progressing, Declan Rice could go down in history as one of the best, if not the best, West Ham player that ever existed. That's the level he's at. That is the level he's at. And because he's so grounded as an individual, and this is what I love about him in particular, because he's so grounded as an individual, you can see that his mindset may think like that. I'm not saying it will, and I'm not saying he's definitely going to stay, because I know money talks, and I know he's going to want to win stuff, and West Ham are going to need to win something over the next year to 18 months. You know, I've got a bit more confidence, Russ, in Declan Rice staying in the summer because the World Cup is in the winter. So I used to think that if we didn't progress, unless things drastically go wrong for West Ham, if we don't progress, that he would be gone in the summer. But I don't see why he would, with only 6 months or 3 months really when the season starts.
Yeah, I mean, for him, I mean, you know, he walks into the England squad anyway. So, you know, regardless of the World Cup. But I think actually the best thing that will happen to West Ham, honestly, is Mark Noble retiring. Honestly, because actually the fact is, I know he respects Mark so much, and you know the fact is, you know, when Mark comes on, he gives him the armband. That shows me just the old school respect he has for his players. I'm glad to see Fo's feeling better, man.
Yeah, I hope you're okay, Fo, mate. Good to see you, mate.
And so, you know, him leaving now, him retiring, or him moving upstairs or whatever. Deck is now the club captain. He is he'll be the team captain. He is the man, and that is a huge thing, but also it's a huge weight on his shoulders, but a huge sense of responsibility. So it's almost like if he leaves, he knows how much of a gap he's going to leave. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like it's almost like it's like not emotional blackmail at all, but it's that it's made his role so much bigger in the club, so much 100%. Bigger.
100%. But listen, that brings it into, you know, the David Moyes press conference. I'm assuming any of the embargoed stuff will come out later, and if it does come out later, I'll cover that in the preview. So make sure you do come and join us on the preview at 9 o'clock. DJ Rossi B, you did a show earlier on today at 12:30 talking about the best potential free 11 that could be available, and there's more than a decent amount of 11 players there, isn't there?
There are, so, and we didn't beat, and we weren't silly. We didn't go with Mbappe up front and Dybala playing behind him. We went for realistic players, and we got, bar the left back, I had to put Schlupp in at left back, but he's played left back before for Palace. But we had a good side, a good team, I thought, and a team which, as I said, in the summer, this summer I think it's going to be the biggest squad rebuilding job of modern history, not in a relegation cause. So it's going to be a massive opportunity. And this, hopefully, by the end of this summer, that's Moyes' squad. He's had a couple of years to get rid of some of the deadwood, run down the contracts. This will be his squad. And then I think we'll see some really, really interesting players coming in. I really think so.
Yeah, 100%. Now, when it comes to the rest of the week, what we've got coming up is the preview tonight, 9 o'clock. So make sure you join us for that. Tomorrow, the game is a 12:30 kickoff, so we'll be doing a match day live. That will be coming out nice and early for you guys. So make sure you tune in, and we'll get some link-ups to the stadium with the guys after the game, etc. So make sure you do join us for that. That takes us into Saturday. I don't know. We'll see what we can do for you over the weekend. There's going to be the first member show coming out, I believe, on Tuesday. Is that right? So make sure you do join in with that. I was actually trying to get a link for the members channel. If you are interested in becoming a member, then you can click the link that I'm going to put in the chat in a couple of minutes. If you are interested in becoming a member, it does help the channel out as well, of course. And subscribe to the channel while I'm at it.
About to say, you got Stell's going to be doing his West Ham Weekly on a Monday this week as well. We'll wait and see, but yeah. Then we've got our first. We haven't had an appreciation night for a long time. We've got that coming up next week on Wednesday with Martin Godleman, the voice of the stadium, and Shedman. We're doing Sir Jeff Hurst. Martin just sent me the video, so I'm going to have a look at that now. And we may have another sports star on the channel. We may do. Maybe we'll try. I'm waiting for. Apparently on Monday. Apparently I'm interviewing him, but we'll see what happens.
Right, and I'm putting the link in if you are interested in becoming a channel member in the chat just now, so you can just click that link there. That would be good. And also, just to let you know, I do apologise because the camera has broken, my microphone has broken. I mean, it's an absolute disaster today, but I hope you have enjoyed the show. What is it that Foshizi is saying in the chat here? I think if Anton was to give away that Soufal shirt behind him, Soufal's form may improve. Honestly, Fo, listen, it's taken me months to convince the missus to allow me to leave that on the wall. So suddenly, if I start taking it down, I'll never get anything West Ham back up on that wall as well. So all players won trophies in a statue, but with Sullivan and gold, nobody will ever achieve that at West Ham. But come on, have a little bit more faith as well. Anyway, Russ, any last words you want to say?
Nope, hopefully, and you'll be able to hear and see Anton tonight.
I'm going to be sitting here after now trying to get this to work for you. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you are new around here, like I said, go and hit that subscribe button somewhere in the channel, and then beside it there's a little bell notification that will notify you up to half an hour before when a show is due to go live. Now, if you are going to be watching a show and it's still and the time keeps getting moved, then you just blame Stell. You don't blame myself or Russ for that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take it easy, be safe, and come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree.